Your voice, your heart, your opportunity. Welcome to tonight's show. Hi everyone, and thank you for joining us all again on this beautiful summer's night. Mark, how are you going?
I'm going good. I'm just in a new studio, so I'm just having a few technical things. But can you hear me okay tonight, Julio?
Yeah, you sound really good. Sound nice and clear.
Oh, I sound really good. That's good. We're off to a good start. Now, I did miss the show last week, and so I sort of feel a bit funny. I missed the show last week, so really excited about getting back into the show. And Kelly, I'm really excited about our guest tonight. It's going to be another exciting show. Can you introduce our guest?
I definitely can. So thank you so much for joining us, Yuan Wang. Now, please incorrect my pronunciation. I'm quite conscious of my having worked in broadcasting for some time, my inflections and my accent. But Zuan, I know you from a group in Kensington, which I live near in Melbourne. And I saw that just some of the, your podcasts, listen to all the work that you do with mothers and with the Asian community. So please introduce yourself, and thank you so much for coming on air. And everyone is really keen to chat with you and find out about your story.
Oh, thank you, Kelly, and thank you for the opportunity to have me to come on. So my name is Yuan. I was born and bred in Beijing, China, and I came to Australia 2013 to study psychology, like honors of psychology in Australian National University. And I moved to Melbourne 2016, and I worked on various projects in business and startups and non-for-profit. Having become a full-time mother in 2018, where I reflected more on what's important to me and my family.
Mm-hmm.
And in 2019, I started Kanga Training Melbourne CBD and Surrounds, which is a baby wearing fitness class business. And then I started City Compost Network late last year, so 2021.
So hold fire. That's a large introduction. So you're an extraordinary mum. Let's get that straight. Would that be correct in saying?
Thank you. I think every mom is.
And you're here in Kensington, and we broadcast statewide. So Kensington is a central suburb in Melbourne. So Mark, Julio, what do you think so far of that very, very overall introduction that Swan has given us?
Well, I don't know where you're going to start with Julio, because obviously you've got a range of things you could help him with. I'm not sure where to start yet, but let's just go back to the start. You came to Australia and you got into not-for-profit. You did a range of things. What sort of led you to Australia and not-for-profit? There wouldn't be too many people coming into Australia and getting into the not-for-profit space. Was that on your heart or something you fell into, or what?
So I think Australia was my choice of study. And then later on, opportunities came up. Like people asked me, okay, we'd like to raise some money for our theater group, which is Older Women Network New South Wales Theatre Group. That's the full name of the theatre group. We'd like to perform in Edinburgh Festival in 2018. And they are consisted of, I think, a group of 10 to 20 women, I think age between 55 and 85. So just a range of like the age and demographic. And they said, we like to perform, but we can't afford all the insurance of any hire, as well as the tickets and accommodation all ourselves. So it's a family relation who speak to me about it. And then I'm like, I was learning about crowdfunding at a time. And I said, I'll help you guys, or help you ladies. And I did. And we eventually raised about $20,000 in about 10 months before the start of Edinburgh Fringe Festival. For, I think it was 7 of them that went eventually to perform in Fringe Festival, and then the show was called "Don't Knock Your Granny," which is about
Hang on a second. Say the show name again. What? Not for Granny.
Don't Knock Your Granny.
Don't knock your granny. Wow.
Yeah, and they wrote, perform, self-directed the show. It's an award-winning show at that point too, that talk about elderly abuse, which is an area that I don't normally, I guess, have much contact to, and I think a lot of people wouldn't have. But I think they bring some light, singing, some humor to that issue, and bring that to people's awareness, which is very crucial because you don't hear
and you
about
did all this
talking
while you were studying. What were you studying again?
I studied psychology, but I didn't study, I guess, community work or social work. But I was learning about crowdfunding at the time, and they need to raise money for their show in Edinburgh. So that's what I helped them with.
You seem a very proactive person. There's lesson number 1 for Julio, to be proactive, mate.
Okay,
we'll try and
start writing these down.
Lessons.
Julio, how do you feel about that? Because I would say that you're pretty proactive, definitely on the digital and IT space.
Apparently, I'm supposed to be more, so I've got to pick up my act.
I think we'll get. We'll try it from the first half hour. We're going to go try and get 10 lessons for Julio. Because I think Xuan's got a great story here. So lesson number 1 for Julio is to be proactive. All right, Julio. So let's write that down. Let's see how many lessons we can get for you tonight. I think that's be our little show.
From our advocate and leader here, Yuan, who I know a lot about, and she is leading a lot of different community groups, particularly in that multicultural sector here, and with mums here in Melbourne. So I think we all have a lot to learn off her tonight.
That's true. But we're going to start with Julio. And don't forget, you can make comments on the chat. So, Julio, let's encourage people to make chats. You might have an idea for Julio as well out there. Anything you think Julio should listen and learn about, just put that on the chat. Any question for Xuan, put that on the chat as well as we go through. It's quite an interesting life. She's a very proactive person. Done a degree in psychology, started off doing a bit of helping of community groups. Lessons for Julio, fantastic, mate. So, okay, so let's just build this up. You've come from China to Australia. Was there any lesson for Julio out of coming to Australia? What was your major learning out of that might help my old mate Julio, who needs a lot of help? What would you say?
I think we all need all the help we can get, Mark, from people we meet or, online resources these days. I think coming to Australia, it was a leap of faith. I'm a single child, so, when I came here, my parents were there alone. It was, I hope, fingers crossed, I hope this thing will work out, as well as I didn't speak as well as I could now back then, and there were a lot of
did you mean English was your second language, huh?
Yes. So I think most international students,
exactly,
they came from a non-English speaking country, they all go through the process of say what? Sorry? What did you just say? Can you repeat that? Like a tape recorder, and your speed of communication was quite slow at the beginning, and what that will impact your satisfaction of living here, studying here, working here, making friends, feel a sense of belonging of your community.
What were some of the decisions that you made that helped you with your transition from China to Australia? What sort of, in reflection, what did you do that really helped, that might be relevant to my old mate Julio?
Well, I think say the things you want to say, and I guess get comfortable of making mistakes, and because people don't really care. I think myself and ourselves are the people who probably think the most about the mistakes were, I could say, embarrassment that we think could be for other people, but it's not necessarily the case, and nobody will remember it tomorrow. So,
Mark, how would you feel if I said to you, be comfortable knowing that you'd make mistakes?
Well, I've made a lot of mistakes in my life, so
I know.
and so has Julio. So I think it's a great one for Julio because he's made heaps of mistakes, and so feel comfortable, Julio. Making mistakes is lesson number 2 for Julio.
Number 2.
How do you feel about that one, Julio?
Oh, it's up there. There you go. It's already there written up.
Lesson 1: coming to get comfortable and making mistakes.
Okay, well, don't forget the first lesson, which is now going to be the second lesson, was being proactive, wasn't it?
Oh, it's true. I forgot about that one. Yes. So
make sure that's lesson number 2 for Julio, being proactive.
Yeah.
So we're trying to get 10 here. We're going to get 10 today. So we've got 2. All right. So in Australia, you start feeling comfortable making a few mistakes. What was the other thing that you learned coming to Australia? What was lesson number 2 for you? That got you through. Like, you obviously made a great transition. You were proactive. You're getting things done. You were connecting. You were studying. Making difference.
I can see your expression. You're thinking, now
I'm thinking, like, what have I done? I think in the process there is a part of reflecting on like what's important to me, not as much as what's important that to the person that I was told that I need to be, but really I think that was sort of what I was reflecting in my 20s, and now I'm in early 30s as well. What's important to me, and that's what let me move to Melbourne too, because like diversity is very important to me.
I really like that one because a few of us are people pleasers, and you're trying to work out what's important to others, and then that becomes what's important to you. But I like that. So Julio's got to learn about what's really important to him. And how's that one resonate with you, Julio?
Oh, I think I've got that down pat. So, yeah, I think I know what's important to me.
But it's a good lesson for you, though, isn't it?
Yeah, to make Mark's life as hard as I possibly can. That usually works out well for me.
Well, that's good to mate. Now, we haven't had any comments on the chat yet. So if you're listening out there and you want to make a comment, we'd love you to get involved in the conversation. Hey, Kelly. So we've got 3 points for Julio already. So we're on our way to 10 and 7 to go. So what happened then? Okay, did you finish your psychology degree?
Yes, I did in 2014.
Okay, can we book Julio in for a session?
Oh, actually, I'm not a registered psychologist.
Oh, okay. So he can't come and see you for a bit of deeper, more intense sort of help?
No.
Okay. All right. So why didn't you become a psychologist? You actually studied psychology.
Yes, I did. That was my intention when I applied for my honors degree. So for psychology, in Australia, you need to do a 3 years bachelor and then 1 year honors, and then you can apply for master's or PhD. And my overseas degree was equivalent of 3 years bachelor of psychology in Australia. So I needed to do 1 year of honors. I think at that point I was quite overloaded at the end of my honors because it was first year living in Australia. And then the study was intense, I think, because there was a whole lot of things that I need to catch up on learning as well as finishing the coursework and the research. So I wanted to take some time off. So I worked for a year and a bit just to, I guess, calm down and do things I have more control of at that time, and then figure out what I want to do at that point.
So, that during that year and a bit that you did this job, what lesson did you learn then? What was going through your mind? What did you pick up then that really helped you get through that phase of your life that Julio might be able to take on board?
I think at that point it was really decompressing and reflecting on what has happened in that year, because that year of honors happened and finished so quickly. I didn't have time to think of what happened and what led to what. So I felt like that I was held by my arms, and my feet wasn't on the ground the whole time, but I need to get things done through the year.
Now, that's a
What do you
really
think about that one,
interesting
Kel?
concept. I was going to say, yeah, I was going to ask you, like many of us, coming through this COVID situation, feel like we need to get our feet back, planted on the ground. And that's a great example you've used there, finishing your honours. What made you first, to our community members out there, and anyone, please make some comments and ask Tuan any questions as well. What made you first, to recognise that you needed to get your feet on the ground? Because I know myself that after finishing my honours and masters midway through an earthquake, I'm only just, 10 years on, I reflect on that and go, wow, did I do that? No, probably I didn't.
Yeah, I think for me it was that I couldn't keep pushing on. And I couldn't quite articulate what was going on. And
interesting.
Like, in a way, I think language is one layer of it. Because I think at that time I still need to translate it into English and then translate it back into Chinese. So that adds a bit more, I guess, brain resource required for the task. So I think I just need to do some less brain resource intensive task, and then reflect on what I want to do next.
So do you get that one, Julio? Lesson number 3, I think it is.
Number 4.
4, okay.
You're quickly clocking up those lessons, Julio.
Beautiful, mate. That's good. Well, let's just have a look at the top 4 lessons you've got so far, mate.
Okay, top 4 lessons. Number 1, coming to Australia, get comfortable and make mistakes. Number 2, be proactive. Number 3, what is important to me? And number 4, when you become overloaded, decompress and reflect.
These are sounding good for Julio. Tell you what.
Yeah. I've got a quick question for you, Yuan. Sorry. My one is totally because I had to learn a different language as well when I came here. Now in Spanish, the way that we use words is very has got a lot of meaning, as in emotion behind it. But when I came to Australia and I was little, I remember I had to relearn emotion on language. Did you have the same issues happening with you, especially when you have to rethink it?
Yes, but I'm laughing because we're on the opposite side. So there aren't, in daily speaking, there aren't that many emotions and feeling words that you hear in day-to-day context. And like we ask people, have you eaten? Like, what occupy you with, or what are you busy with? Not like, how are you, or how do you feel? Like in language, it shapes your experience as a person. So I think I'm still learning on like recognizing what's the feeling going on for me and for other people, as well as articulating what's going on for me and others. And I think I find English is a much easier language to articulate and communicate that than Mandarin. But it sounds like Spanish is another level.
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
Well, good comments, Julio. Just for our listeners, I just want to let you know that this is a live radio show. We're coming to you live from the studio of Northwest FM. Don't worry about any clocks you're seeing. They're not that right, but doesn't mean we're not live on radio 98.9 Northwest FM. It's Community Heart Radio, and we've got a great special guest tonight, and we're looking forward to getting some comments from your good self. We're going to build up 10 lessons for Julio tonight. He needs them, and we love giving them to him. So we're up to lesson number 5. So what happened after you had this year off? What was a lesson that you sort of reflected on at the end of that period that helped you into this next phase of your life, which might be meeting your partner, might be doing whatever it is,
I think for me it was get out of Canberra. Out of Canberra. It was moving either Sydney or Melbourne at a time, and at the end we moved to Melbourne. And I need to say, at that, my husband now, my partner at the time, we met. That's another whole lot of stories about our relationship history. We met in 2011, and I came here 2013, so we lived together like 2 years and a half before I moved from Canberra to Melbourne. So at that point, I think we were both ready for an adventure, and exploring, I guess, more.
Well, can I just stop you there? I reckon that's a great lesson for someone like Julio, who gets a bit stuck in the mud a bit, Julio, is get ready for an adventure, Julio. What do you think about that, mate?
Yeah, okay. So I need a new adventure now.
Well, okay. You got to be ready for the adventure. Don't you reckon, Kelly? Julio could get a bit stuck. He's got to be ready for the adventure that's going to happen in his life.
Yeah, I definitely can relate to that. And I think the point that Yuan, you were touching on earlier as well, for me, transitioning over here, a lot of people think New Zealand and Australia is exactly the same, but it's not. So many different systems. And 4.5 years later, I'm still learning, still learning. And English is even different too. Terminology, phrase, it very much is. And sometimes I still catch myself going, is this or this? And, and these eligibility criteria, all those sorts of things. And 2 of those years being here in COVID, so it's like that relearning again. So I completely understand that. Be up for that adventure, but then also be aware of those changes that you're not realizing that you've made as well.
This is good. So, all right, so you're prepared to go on an adventure, and you moved from Canberra to Melbourne. Okay, so what happened then?
At that point, we know close to nothing about Melbourne. We want to figure out what we like and don't like. First, before we settle down in a suburb, sign a lease. So we moved around for about half a year in short-term rental house sitting to explore, I guess, part of Melbourne activities, what we like to do for work at that point. That's 2016. And I think through that process, I can see it now more clearly than at the time, that walkability is very important to us, and cyclability is very important to us. A sense of community belonging is very important to both of us, and diversity. So
yeah. Okay. Well, I'm just trying to get the lesson because we've already got to work out what is important. But maybe Milton, we've got a comment from Milton. What's he got to say for himself?
No, I think it's having a go at Kelly here again.
I think he is.
Please don't share their sheep. Okay. Another. Thank you for that, Milton. Very good to add that to the conversation.
That's it.
But I do like that you worked out what's important, but we've got that as a lesson. So you use that lesson that you talked about before. When you came to Melbourne, you tried to work out what's important to you in deciding where you're living, yeah?
How did you recognize those values as well? That's what I was going to ask you, Juan. When you were, you're shifting around, did you at any point feel a sense of instability, or you said multicultural and community was important? How did you hone into that? I'm curious.
I didn't know that at the time. I think the words that I just give out was hindsight that I can see now. I can put words to it. At the time, I think it was more of a bodily experience, because you live in a suburb, you immersed in like other people who are also living there, the activity that's going on, the energy vibe that you can feel, like more like in the residential area as well as in the commercial area. And I think like I had a sense of, okay, that suburb may be a little bit too much energy for me, and that suburb may be too little. And that's where I sort of feel a sense of, I like to be close to my community, like Asian, Chinese community, and it's convenient for shopping and other reasons, and meeting other people too. But I also don't want it to be just one single cultural background in one suburb. I still like to meet people from different backgrounds and share my stories and listen to theirs.
Okay.
Okay, is there a lesson there, Siobhan, about analysing things you've worked out the options, but you analyse. Is that the lesson you learnt then, or is there another one there?
I would say listen to external what's going on and listen to yourself.
Okay, yep.
So listen and find balance, would you say?
Yeah, listen externally and internally. Because
like
inside
that. Listen
of you,
externally and internally, yes.
Yeah, we'll have a response to whatever is going on outside, and then listen.
If you can't hear the internal stuff, how do you turn up the volume on the internal stuff?
How do I turn on the volume? I think sometimes it helps by talking to your friends about it, and I find it's very surprising the things I say out loud to my friends. I never really think that way myself in my head, but it's like, oh, that's actually true. I actually think that way, and having a avenue to articulate that is quite important. So, like for me, that helps. I think some other people would say, meditating could also be helpful, or going into nature, or doing art and craft.
Yep.
You find talking to people, listening to their advice, listening to yourself internally really helps set you on your path, yeah?
Yeah, like you talk and like it's sort of bouncing ideas in dialogue, because when you listen internally, you can't really hear much new things, I find.
Yep.
Like it's always the same thing going on and on. But when you speak to a friend and they ask you something, and then you're like, oh, I actually respond to that this way. And then I realize, oh, I never thought about that myself.
Oh.
Okay, fantastic. All right, so we've got a couple more. Julio, what number up to now, mate? On the
number 7.
Top 10.
Number 7.
Number 7. Okay, so you got some insights about what you wanted to do, yeah? You've checked out every suburb in Melbourne. You've decided on the suburb you want. Just keep going down that journey for us.
I think it was about 7 we actually lived in, and then we got married.
7 suburbs?
Yeah.
Wow. How many suburbs you lived in, Julio?
Oh, ex-military, heaps.
Oh,
lots.
Yes. Okay. Well, that's part of your problem, isn't it? What about you, Cal?
Here in Melbourne, 3.
3. Okay. All right. So we move around a bit. That's all right. So just take us through the next part of the journey.
And then we got married. We went back home.
We've got to ask you about this one because we have covered this subject a little bit lately, but
a little bit.
Just give us a bit of advice about that one. How did you know that he was the one?
Now, this is opening up a big can of worms, here's one. Just warning you, big can of worms.
I have the same issue while I was at school, because there was this, thing in my head. I hope this thing will work out. But there are also doubt, and there are a lot of doubt along the way, different type of doubt. And I spoke to one of my professors at the time, and about my doubts. And then he said, you check your weather forecast for tomorrow and decide on what to wear based on temperature, weather, wind, so on. He said there's no difference. There's no difference on you check on what the weather is going to be like than choosing someone. I think it's a little bit abstract, but let me articulate it a little bit more. That you can't control someone going to be what way externally. You can't control anybody saying something, doing something, we're not doing something, sorry. But you can adjust what you do accordingly that will work. Does that make more sense now?
So you have to learn to compromise is what you're saying. So you have to make those adjustments, and it's ongoing learnings and compromises to the environment and situate. Would that be right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think by living in Melbourne, we would all have a lot of tips and tricks for ourselves on how to adjust to the weather.
5 seasons in one day. Mm-hmm.
All right, it's lesson number 7, Julio. Have you got something from that, mate? You're on mute there, Julio, but
And Antoine, is your husband, is he of interculture as well, interfaith? What, did you have similarities there too?
It's actually quite funny. He was born in Australia, but his parents came from Holland in the late 70s.
Mm-hmm.
Our similarities, which shockingly is that his family eat rice and drink tea and play mahjong. Which we actually play some games with my family while we're in China and some friends here, which I don't know, 1 in a million. I probably could find a Western person that eat rice, drink tea, play mahjong. And then there's also so many things that's so different.
All right, how'd you go with lesson number 7, mate? What did you come up with?
Lesson number 7, I just basically at the moment, see if this is right. In relationships, adjust to each other.
Mm.
Okay, good.
And I love Esther's comment here as well. Thank you, Esther. Reading and writing Chinese is so hard. I agree, 100%. Whereas in Spanish, it is much easier. However, basic Spanish grammar is way more complex than Chinese. Totally agree.
Yep.
I know minimal Mandarin, used to know fluent Pacific and Maori. Really, since not using it a lot here, my knowledge would now be very basic, unfortunately. So, yeah, completely agree.
Well, good old Esther. She's quite intelligent, that lady. And I wonder if she's got a little lesson for you, Julio, or anyone out there. If you've got a lesson for Julio, this is a big chance to get in Julio's top 10 lessons for the night. We're up to lesson number 8, I think. So we're starting to get through these lessons. Of course, he's got a lot to learn, so it's pretty easy finding them. So,
Mark, we haven't even got to what she is doing now and what she has been doing over the past.
We're just about to get there now. We're going to get there now. So we've got past the marriage now. Where are we up to now, Chuan, in your history, your journey?
So we got married 2017 in China, and then in Holland, and then we went back to Australia. And my husband was starting to look for work. And then I was working on different projects then. That's 17, 18. And then we had our first baby 2018. And I become a full-time mom then. My husband working full-time. So then that's the story of, I guess, a young family in Melbourne inner city without family support. And how we get through that. And then 2019, 2020, that was COVID. I had another baby 2020 August. So that was being pregnant during COVID, as well as having a baby, and then having a teeny tiny person in COVID, and then a toddler. In the house in lockdown. I think I find lockdown is such a strange word now. Like, it's like a dirty word that we all try to forget.
That's a great
any lesson for you came out of that patch in your life?
Well, there's so many. I think when I first become a full-time mom, it was quite of a shock, and again I still didn't know what was happening. Like how to adjust. I didn't have a clue to all the changes, I guess. And I often joke with people that a baby is a shock to the system. I think at the time, at the first year, I figured out 5 things that kept my sanity, which helped. And I think everybody will be different. And that's sort of pre-COVID. Like we can still go to museum, like volunteer, cycle, all those things that I guess keep my identity as a mom as well as an individual. I think that was hard. That was challenging. But then during COVID, and away from family, it's really, we got to make do with what we have. And make it work, find a way to make it work for myself, my kids, the family.
I like the identity one, Kelly, because I think identity trips a lot of people up. I wonder what the lesson for Julio and others is around the identity one. How would we describe that one? Because I think that could be lesson number 8 for Julio. How would you put it, Kelly? What do you think that Suan was saying there that would help Julio?
I think it's coming back to her identity and values, is what you're saying. Is in regards to the things that we take for granted, like you said, Juan. You know, you like to cycle, you like to go to volunteer, and so those are the kind of things, like, you know, when you're saying working with the community, that helps to build our identity, our purpose, the things that we enjoy, and it builds on our values as well. You know, so for yourself and for myself, we enjoy working with the community, so that's what helps to inform our identity.
Okay, so in a nutshell, what would you call lesson number 8 around identity? What would be the words?
I would say recognize, use. I'm trying to think, how would I word it?
Suan, have you got anything that you could add to that to put in a sentence for Julio? Because maybe this is a big area of his getting his identity right, like working out who is Julio. That's an interesting question, isn't it? I wonder if anyone's got the answer for that. Who is Julio?
I don't actually have the golden answer here, and I'm still, I guess, finding out myself every day. I think maybe something that will give access to this is reflect on what you enjoy doing on a day-to-day basis, and then look at the commonality within those, whether it is spending time with like-minded people, whether it is laughing together, whether it is some sort of physical activities, we're going out.
I would say recognizing what your identity and values are based on.
All right. Well, I think that's. I don't know how you're going with that one, Julio, but
that's a big.
It's a big one, mate.
Gave it a go, but see how it goes. So you guys with continue to build your identity and values, reflect on what you enjoy doing.
Yeah, that's. I reckon you've done well there, Julio. All right, let's get into what you're doing now, Suan. Your little projects. How'd they come about? What drove you to those? What sort of lesson for Julio through that?
So while I was living in Melbourne, in a suburb, I had some difficulties in finding ways I can compost at home or in the community, really. And we didn't have access to the council food and organic green bin at a time. And I used to bring my food waste to a community garden like 5 kilometers away, and then I find it somewhere closer, 2 kilometers away, but still a regular trip. And it will stink our car too, like, because I put it in a bokashi bucket, and then inevitably something will leak, and then it will stink the car. And until I think about 2019, I found a neighbor through a local Facebook group who is willing to take my bokashi outcome. I can bury it in her trenches, and then she get extra compost. And I fulfill my need to compost and deal with my own organic waste matter. But then I found out there are a lot of people who live in apartment who have the same or similar issue, that they really want to compost but don't really have an easy solution. And I discovered there are quite a few amazing initiatives around, and I guess look into it a little bit more down the track. I want to help more people who have similar frustration and agony, but who are willing to do the work to compost their food waste, reduce their environmental impact. So last year, I started a composting initiative called City Compost Network. We've run a series of workshops and meetups for people to find out about what type of composting system that will work for their individual homes, and how to deal with the dilemma they may run into in their household, whether it's housemaid or family members who weren't that open to the idea. And this year we're interviewing a few apartment compost facility manager as well as community compost hub managers to talk about their process in initiating the project as well as their ongoing management of the facilities, and to make the process clear and transparent to other people who want to do the same and facilitate that process, to make it easy for people in their homes and in their community to compost and reduce their environmental impact. So that's one of the projects I'm working on.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. It's, a lot of people looking for that sort of stuff. Julio, what did you want to add, mate?
Oh, just I'm just finding astounding. How are you finding people? Because Australia's really behind on this compost thing, and I'm just finding it. How do you finding out people in the field, especially with suburban areas, that deal with suburban issues, apart from like maybe looking at Tokyo, Singapore, and serious cities like that? How are you finding this expertise in Australia?
Well, I think a lot of expertise are in the community already.
Okay.
And then I speak to people, and then someone will say, "Oh, you should speak to this person," and then this person would tell me some more about, "Oh, this is what I know, but I know you should also speak to this person." So I find out the experts in the community. It's a short answer.
Don't forget, we're on 98.9 Northwest FM. It's Community Heart Radio. We've got a special guest tonight who started her own compost recycling project, and we're going to hear more about that. But while we're waiting, we're just going to have Esther's got a little tip for Julio. So what's that one? Tip for Julio? Oh,
nice.
mate.
Nice.
Can you pronounce this one, Julio?
No.
Yes, I'm saying not to listen to you, basically.
Well, thanks, Esther. I thought Esther was a good friend, but, it could be some advice there, Julio. I mean, that could be good advice for you. So,
maybe,
Yuan, how are you finding this project? It's really a motivating, giving thing to start this, because you're doing it for others. What was sort of driving you?
I think the agony that I went through myself, and I guess also how often I see other people talk about it, like talk about their own frustration about there's no easy option for them to compost in their own home, and a lot of time it's people who live in apartments.
So first of all, you're wanting to hear their stories, so community members out there, and then also to find a solution. Would that be right?
Yes, like I personally have one level of solution, and I discover a lot of people have a lot more different solutions. Therefore, I want to learn about theirs as well as make their learning available to broader communities so that other people can learn from that. And I guess also avoid for vast majority of community members to do their own research, because that can take a long time, consume a lot of resources, time, efforts, and everybody have a lot on their plate, so not everybody's gonna do all kinds of research on this one particular issue. So
I do like this one for Sharon, I do like this one for someone like Julio and others listening, where you've actually been affected by something that other people could be affected by, so you try and create change for others as well. So it's sort of like a paying it forward or giving it back, or don't you think? I think that's a good lesson for Julio, because he's sitting on easy street, and he's come up with some solutions in his life, so he should be able to pass them on. Don't you reckon? So, do you agree with that, Sean?
Yeah, like.
Go ahead, Sean.
I think it was. I think a bit of both, and making it easy for other people who willing to do the work, make their life a bit easier, to do the right thing, as well as and then there are more people coming along on this journey, and then they may talk to their friends and family, and then maybe more people become willing to do a little bit of work. And I'm happy to be the person who do a bit more work on this specific issue. But there are a whole lot of people doing a lot more work in other areas that they're passionate about, that I'm also benefiting from.
Yeah.
I was just going to say, so where would community members, and then I'll go to Paul's question because he's got some really good questions there as one, is where would community members go first and foremost to find out what you have done with this recycling project and to learn, like you said, what's already available and what they can offer as a collective to pull it together?
Sorry, Kelly, I don't think I quite got your question.
So,
like you meant...
talk to us about this recycling project. What's it called, and where can community members go to find a bit about it and offer their support and knowledge?
So it's called City Compost Network. So we're on Facebook right now under City Compost Network. Everybody can find out about us on that. You can also send us emails on City Compost Network, one word, at gmail.com. If you know any interesting, intriguing community composting initiatives or hubs, or in apartments or in organizations like hospitals, events, exhibition centers, any of those sorts, it's on our aim this year to interview. So if you know any interesting examples, send us our way.
Brilliant.
I like it. Kelly, what's Paul asking us? What's his questions?
And so Paul is saying, how did you manage the community work during lockdowns, Yuan? And what challenges did you face, and how did you overcome these challenges? Big questions.
It's a wonderful question. Paul, I was having babies when I was in lockdown. I think the first 1.5 years, I was still in baby mode. But at that time, or even a little bit before that, I was working on researching and talking to community members about this issue. And having babies, I took a pause on that. And I think last year, about May, I resumed working on this project. And then I spoke to the community a bit more, and I find someone who has more academic knowledge than I have in the issue, who live in the same suburb, and we started working together. And then
Brilliant.
It stopped being from, I guess, a one woman's agony to two women's like bouncing off ideas of each other, as well as moving things forward. And that, I think, give me a lot of hope, as well as a lot of comfort that we got something done.
So what lessons did you learn
at the same time?
Yeah, because a lot of people out there might be resonating with this. They've overcome something. They want to give it back. They want other people to learn from what they've learned, like yourself. What lessons did you learn from setting this thing up and then trying to give it to people or share it? Or, what lesson would that be for? I think we're up to lesson number 9, Julio.
10.
What number 10? What would be the lesson?
I would say keep speaking to your community, your friends, your colleague, people you run into occasionally, and speak about what you're working on, what you're passionate about, and don't stop until you find someone that you like. Yeah, I really want to work with that person, and it's stopped from being one person.
Yeah, I do like that.
In one person's
trying
head.
to find fellow travelers, people that share your passions. I think that's a good one.
Yep.
100%.
Yeah, I do like that. Now, I know we're running out of time a little bit, but what's the next project you're involved in? I think it was 2 projects you're doing.
You make it sound like an ongoing list, Mark.
We're trying to just unpack this life. It's been an amazing journey you've had there, Sean. And
thank you, Mark.
Tell us about the other project.
So I'm launching a podcast called Everyday Extraordinary Moms.
Yep.
And what that's also, I guess, come a little bit from my own, I guess, loneliness, as well as how will you put it? Brain shortcutness. I don't think that's a word. When you are, I guess, growing as well as feeding this little baby, a lot of the time it could be quite isolating, as well as less intellectually stimulating. And I think over time, I find that the adult connection that I used to enjoy is not necessarily always there. So I actually need to seek out for that. And there are things, I guess, women or mothers don't really talk that much about in everyday chats.
That's so true, John. That's so true.
We talk more about our concerns. Yeah. What our worries are. But I find talking about, it's so hard to say, like how awesome we are. Not that it's hard to say that, but like acknowledging how extraordinary the job a mother is, and celebrate that, as well as have some fun, have some laughter about the journey, and cry together and laugh together. It's so important that we don't do as much, I find, in society. So that's how the idea came about. So I've interviewed 2 mothers so far and working on the final technical issues to upload them on podcasts.
It's another great thing you're doing, Sean, about giving back to people, giving people opportunity to understand the world you're in, and you understanding their world and looking for these fellow travelers, Kelly. It's a good thing, isn't it? Don't you reckon?
Absolutely. Very, very much so. Very much so. And I think any mums would appreciate that, would really value that, because so many of us, not only during those lockdowns, but moving forward, we want to hear those empowering stories. We want to hear that encouragement. We want to feel like, actually, we're not alone here.
Yeah, it's great. It's been a great journey there. And Julio, have we got 10 tips for your good self by now?
Well, we certainly do. I'm full up with tips now for tonight.
So. Well, you need them, mate. You desperately need them. Let's go through them slowly, and any comments from Kelly and Chuan, let's add them in. But let's go through them, mate.
Okay. Number 1, coming to Australia, get comfortable in making mistakes.
Yep.
Number 2, be proactive.
Yep, like that.
Number 3, what's important to me? When becoming overloaded, decompress and reflect.
Okay.
Number 5, get ready for the adventure. Number 6, listen internally and externally to yourself and also to others.
Yep.
Number 7, in relationships, adjust to each other. Number 8, continue to build your identity and values. Reflect on what you enjoy doing. Number 9, be proactive and get involved to resolve community issues.
Yep.
And number 10, keep speaking to your friends and community about your passion.
Sean, what would you say? You've seen these 10 tips. What are you thinking?
It's very well summarized and very well put. And thank you, Mark, and thank you, Julio, and thank you, Kelly. I think like it could be quite a lot for anybody listening. Pick one that's resonating with you and run with it. And maybe tomorrow something else will resonate. Maybe the day after somebody else who says something that will resonate. So I'm glad that I can be of service.
So, Julio, do you think this is going to be transformational to your life?
Transformational. It has been at the moment. Every single day is transformational in my life at the moment, so it's good.
Yeah, but what do you think about your 10 tips? These are 10 tips for you. Are you going to do any of them, Julio?
Yes, I will. Actually, quite a few. I've got to choose what's important to me.
Well, why don't you have a think about those tips and come back with 2 that you're really going to focus on. Kelly, what do you think?
Oh, just 2. I would say at least 50% of those. But I think
5. Right, Julio, think about 5 you're going to action, mate. Kelly wants you to do 5.
No,
right? So
I would say I would definitely say many of it, and any of our community members, please join in here. And it may just not be a women's perspective, but a man's perspective as well. But I think many of them that you touched on, one, that to take that time to decompress and think about internally. You know, as women, we like to very much to be thinking. And so, yeah, I think to take that time to share your passion with the community, I think that's really, really important. Relationship to be, you know, always evolving and to compromise. And I think, you know, when you're saying about your recycling projects and your with being a mother and podcast, I think, you know, when you are someone who is highly intellectual and highly proactive, many of us now, we still want to be able to do that. You know, we want to do it all. And so I think to keep that passion alive is really important. And so to help finding ways to keep yourself stimulated, invigorated, I'd say. Yeah.
I love your summary there, Kelly. The show's coming to an end, unfortunately. 98.9 Northwest FM. It's Community Heart Radio. And Yuan Wang, it's been just so great having you on the show. Julio,
but hang on a second, Mark. What was your takeaway? That's going to be the key.
Oh, well, that's for next week. We're running out of time, but we're going to get Julio's 5 tips that he's going to be focusing on this week. Julio, give us your top 5 tips you're going to be actually doing something about. And you're on mute too, by the way, so that's your first action.
There you go. Mistake number 1. So I completed it. It's great.
Feel comfortable, Julio?
There you go.
Okay.
Action number 1. That's it. For action number 2, I actually like lesson 3. Important to me.
Yeah, that's good.
Important to me. Then the next one is continue to build identity and values. Quite like that one.
Beautiful.
Get ready for adventure. Well, I have to. I go walking with Mark every Saturday morning. So, and the last one I got is my favorite. Be proactive and involved to resolve community issues.
Yeah, well done, Julio. Kelly, great show tonight. Yuan, last comment. What's your sort of final comment for the show?
It's wonderful being here. I think I learned a lot just by speaking to the 3 of you, and I hope anybody listening finds something valuable for themselves in this episode today, and get in touch and keep up the good work, everybody.
Thanks very much. Great having you all listening tonight. Community Heart Radio, 98.9 Northwest FM.
Looking forward to seeing you. Thank you for joining us this evening. Tune in every Wednesday evening at 8 p.m. or watch us on YouTube, Facebook, and follow us on LinkedIn and other social media.